Welcome to the Resilient Being webinar. My name is Teemu Arina.
And I'm Dr. Olli Sopijärvi. Happy to be with you guys. This is exclusive for Resilient Being book pre-orders. We are happy to welcome you to 2023 to become a resilient being.
Absolutely. Yeah, so today we will be diving deep into one of the chapters of our upcoming book and give you a little update on things. And we have some questions that have come in from our subscribers and pre-orders. And if you have any questions or comments, please just throw it into the chat. So we have the super chat on YouTube. So open up the chat and maybe write down there like where you're from, where you're tuning in. It is right now, it's about 6 p.m. here in Helsinki, Finland.
Yeah, and this is the first webinar of the year. And as we said, highly exclusive, but everyone also can see this afterwards. But the question here is about you guys. We want to hear what's on your mind. How would you define resilience? What do you want to hear? The webinar is about our contextual resilience. So if we just take a look at a little bit of what the book is all about, just to remind you guys, and maybe those of you who haven't yet pre-ordered the book. So let's take a look at the slides. So the book is gonna be massive. If you just go to resilientbeing.com, you can pre-order it. At the moment, we have about 800 pages or something like that, nearly 3,000 references, and the work is still in progress. Actually, we're gonna go to Tallinn with Teemu to have a deep dive into the book and make it like further. And basically, the book is consisting of 5 parts. As was the Biohacker's Handbook, we wanted to make kind of like a similar contextual content or the structure of the book to have very thorough, very balanced book. But this is getting a lot deeper into all aspects of stress management, resilience management, trauma hacking, ego, your shadow, how you can transcend your consciousness, have a better immunity, like activate your hormones, improve your metabolic system, and so on and so on. So we have physical, mental, social, spiritual, and contextual resilience.
Yeah, and there is basically, when it comes to this book, if we can get the photo, thank you, I'm talking to the audience. So when we were writing the first book, the Biohacker's Handbook, there was a lot of things about immunity and longevity and nervous system. And we realized that if we're going to include that in the first book, it's going to be 2,000 pages. So it was already a deliberate decision to move some of that material to the next book. So just give the basics of optimizing work and exercise and sleep and nutrition. And so show the cover of the first book, please.
Yeah. This
was the first book. So it's a big book. Maybe you can write in the chat if you have already this book and all that. So this is kind of like the kind of introduction to biohacking. So all the different aspects. And in the Resilient Being book, we go so much deeper. Once you have all the building blocks in place, that's when you go deep. So if you don't have the Biohacker's Handbook, we highly recommend you to get that. It's already available, been for a while on the market. And the Resilient Being book is kind of a sequel. But you can also start from the Resilient Being straight away. Just like all the work that we do, it is highly popularizing science, and we make it as understandable as possible. So we stand on the shoulders of giants. But in this book specifically, we wanted to take it even more holistic. So combining deep understanding of the human physiology from the nervous system and metabolism standpoint. So ketogenic diets, intermittent fasting, calorie restriction, those are big things right now in biohacking globally that people talk about. David Sinclair's work on longevity, NAD, all the discussion nowadays about mitochondria, autophagy. I don't remember that actually was such a big topic a decade ago when we started.
Definitely, I don't think anybody actually talked about it. No. It's like the past 5 years, I would say. Siim Land I think he was the first one to actually publish something more popularized, like with his book, The Metabolic Autophagy. And even for me, like reading the whole book, I was like, okay, this is some cutting edge beep. So really, really great stuff. But we take things a lot deeper.
Yeah.
And today we're gonna concentrate on the contextual resilience. So what's hormesis, something about immune system, a little bit about intermittent fasting, calorie restriction, and especially we dive into heat alteration because that's also a huge trend, a huge global interest in especially cold exposure, but also longevity in general.
I think during the pandemic also, Joe Rogan and others, like they promoted sauna a lot. Like a lot of people got the sauna. And I have to say that, by the way, infrared sauna is not a sauna. So sauna is a reserved word, just like Greek yogurt or champagne is only from a specific part of champagne, or feta cheese is only from certain regions. So like in a similar manner, sauna is a preserved Finnish word for this like sweat bathing in a specific kind of, I would say like in the US they call it dry sauna experience, but infrared sauna is not really technically a sauna. It's more like
heat room.
I would say
infrared heat room.
It's a infrared. It's a room for infrared therapy, and some people also combine red light. We're going to be talking about red light. Red light was also not like non-existent pretty much like 10 years ago when we started our biking journeys.
Yeah.
So definitely our new book is like building on the foundations and bring all the new trends that everyone is talking about in the industry. It's really we are really going to like concentrate the latest meta studies and the latest understanding from science and providing it in an easily understandable form and bringing out a lot of things that have not been really discussed that much, because once we dive deep into the research, we find all kinds of things that a lot of the so-called influencers are not really talking about.
Also, we include social resilience, like how about your childhood experiences? How about parenting, attachment, personality, like development, all kinds of archetypes, the development of the ego and the self, your shadow, your traumas, especially, and of course spiritual resilience, which is a bit harder, subject to approach, but we are still wanting to get this inside this book because it has a certain effect. Or like
it's very integrated, and I would say like a lot of people in the health wellness community have moved more into this kind of consciousness direction. Like there's like consciousness biohackers and being conscious person is very trendy. People go to all kinds of retreats and they do plant medicines and all that. Of course, we also discuss plant medicines briefly, but that's only like a minor aspect of everything that's in there. Now let's take some questions. So Karo Sturmer is asking, do you say something in the book about fatigue that is accompanied by low cortisol and dopamine? Do you have a quick tip for that? What about cold exposure in that case? Very good question. We go very deep into the HPA axis, the whole like pituitary gland, like adrenal glands, nervous system, the vagus nerve, like all of that, and of course like all the hormones, stress hormones, which are, by the way, stress hormones like cortisol are not a bad thing. It's a good thing to have some cortisol, like maybe you are also referring to with low cortisol as a case example.
Yeah, so in both physical resilience and mental resilience part, these kind of like coincide, but we wanted to make them like different topics. So let's say like brain neurotransmitters, we definitely go through those. Also, how the gut has an effect on the microbiota, different kind of means to actually balance your neurotransmitters. In the Biohacker's Handbook, we had this basic review on what neurotransmitters are, but here we go a lot deeper in the like systematic wise. So definitely you will get lots of answers and also like possibilities of having a research on these kind of things. And fatigue is so broad concept, and it can be induced or caused by so many reasons, but we hope that this book will also give you a lot of new answers to that.
There's very good questions. I'm just reading like the questions that came in before the webinar, and I'm gonna be picking up some of these things as we go forward. Now, let's go like once back. Like I'm gonna just refer to this aspect here. So the Resilient Being book is in the production right now, and you just like received. Hopefully, you were able to download the kind of preview chapter on heat alteration. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. Don't start changing it. Thank you. So, but if you want to get your hands on to some new stuff that we just published as ebooks as well, you maybe also want to take a look at the Biker's Brain Nutrition Guide, and there's also Biker's Nutrition Guide. Those are ebooks, and there is a lot of like stuff there as well. So as we do research, we realize that okay, this is just too much for the Resilient Being book, so we make another ebook on that. But this year we will be doing 5 webinars, so from all the different chapters. So starting from the we have to take animations out of your presentation. It's super annoying. So like now we are going to be talking about the contextual resilience, but the next ones are going to be the physical resilience, the mental resilience, the social resilience, and then finally the spiritual resilience. This year you're going to be getting invitations to take part, and we will be releasing like, you know, these teaser PDF ebooks that you can kind of dive deep into some aspect of it, and in the final book you get the whole story. So there's more questions coming in. So yeah, Karo says, sounds great, looking so much forward, like great, awesome. There's Daniel is asking about tinnitus, that this is for him like a major roadblock for resilience, because it can get exhausting.
Indeed.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, you know, I have personal experience about tinnitus, and how I notice if a day has been stressful, they're ringing in the ears. So I get that if there's a lot of stuff going on, it has an effect on the vagus nerve that actually comes from here. So it affects the inner ear as well. And there are like these TVNS, like these like transcutaneous vagal nerve stimulators that you actually put behind your ear, and they seem to be really effective in treating tinnitus. But about tinnitus, it's all about controlling the stress and the autonomic nervous system, and of course the external noise and all the inputs, sensory input in general. So the more stressed you are, probably the more tinnitus you actually have.
So just like with every aspect of the nervous system, and like if you have brain damage or you have like tinnitus or like some kind of damage on myelination or signaling in your body or nerve endings or whatever, like many of the things in the book are going to be helping with that, because longevity is partly slowing down the processes of aging and helping your body to bounce back quickly. Like resilience is literally the ability to bounce back. So I don't think we're going to give you like a magic bullet, like how to deal with, let's say, tinnitus or let's say some specific nervous system issue, but many things will get better as you implement certain lifestyle changes for sure.
And there are specific hacks, like for tinnitus, there are hacks like the TVNS, like stimulator, and there's actually one page or almost one page dedicated to this specific thing. So I know for sure that there's also going to be some answers for that. But overall, the book is going to be like an approach of approaching like this concept of resilience in the holistic as possible way to the knowledge we have today.
Yeah, Balanced Energies is working with people who I work first responders to holistically prevent traumatic stress and build resilience. Super excited to see all the information in the book and how it can support my knowledge. Yeah, this is going to be definitely one of those educational books that's going to help both like let's say end users and also like the practitioners on the field. Does the book include any information on the mitochondrial cell danger response and how to become stuck in the system? Mitochondria is a huge thing. We will be diving very deep into mitochondria, autophagy, into NAD, like all these different processes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NRF2.
So NRF2, like
All these abbreviations that,
Yeah,
that you've just been CERT1, CERT6, CERT, yes, CERT.
Yeah, and also like part of resilience is to be in balance, right? So it's when your system is out of balance, that's when like you can have too much of a good thing. If you take NAD, for example, of course, as you age, it goes down, but it's questionable if you need to supplement NAD every single day when you're a young person. Like maybe you might be increasing the risk for senescent cells, for example. Maybe there is a slight cancer risk of like too much of a good thing, right? So we'll be going into the mechanisms, but basically, as a result of this book, you will potentially become like one of the most resilient entities on this planet, which is
a tardigrade.
Tardigrade.
Do you want to become a tardigrade?
So tardigrades are some of the most resilient animals on this planet. They can sustain extreme heat, extreme cold, radiation, environmental toxins, like atmospheric pressure. It can basically live inside a volcano, inside like an iceberg. It can live in space. So I think what it is all about is not to avoid necessarily all the unhealthy things, but to become very good at bouncing back, because life is not perfect, right? And you will go through sleep deprivation, especially if you get children. Olli has a lot of experience.
Yeah. They things might suddenly accumulate. So I know also a lot about this. Suddenly you may become sick, like once people are moving outside. We actually go also very deep into the immune system and how to improve that. But let's say, based on my own experience, just before the Christmas, we were on holiday. We had a nice trip, a little disruption on the climate, a lot of sunshine, and suddenly there were like 200 coughing people. I catch something, came back, suddenly very cold, heavy snow, like 5 days in a row. So I basically made like 2 hours of snow shoveling, and then my daughter was in the like preschool, and she got suddenly sick, some influenza, and suddenly I was like full blown influenza virus sickness, like 7 days of shivering and having a fever, and still I feel that I haven't completely recovered from that based on my HRV readings. But you can still build your resilience. For example, I've been taking ice baths 15 days in a row, and then I complain about why is my HRV not bouncing back? Maybe, have a little break. You said
I told Olli like maybe you want to have like one day when you don't do ice bath and hardcore exercise protocol if you want to get your HRV back, because you wrote yourself in the book about super compensation. It's not only about exercise, it's also about recovery, that you need to give your body space to rest, but you might feel okay. And this is the thing, like...
And you actually feel great.
You feel awesome.
I have a sauna. I have a boot warmer sauna. Then I go to like jump my ice pod, do it a couple of times, and I feel absolutely amazing. But then I wake up in the morning, I actually feel good, but the stats, they haven't been that good after the infection. But, I bounce back. They're cyclical to that, like seasonality. Usually the HRV is lower in the winter months. Then it goes a lot higher in the summer when there's sun, all these kind of things. So we have to also adapt to the environment and realize that, hey, I cannot be at the same level as I am in the summertime, which is completely opposite.
Yeah, I actually know several biohackers who've been like killing it, ice bath, sauna, doing ketogenic diets, intermittent fasting, like all of this, like stacking it
too much,
and then actually like getting into some kind of burnout for 4 months. Like this has happened like in very healthy, conscious people, that you can overdo stuff like ice baths. I've been also like, by the way, overdoing it like every single day now. I just love it. But if you want to like understand your stress response, you want to understand where you come from, like what is your, let's say, likelihood of like what is the like foundations from which you are coming from. It's good to measure, like Olli mentioned HRV, but there's a new test that we want to tell you. We just made it available. It's called the integral DNA test. It's actually 3 different tests in one. So it gives you a full understanding of your lipid metabolism, your methylation, your detoxification, the inflammation pathways, oxidative stress, bone health, insulin sensitivity, and
a lot of new stuff. Basically, there's this new component. Why I'm really stoked about this. This is just like maybe a quarter of it. What it has. The DNA Resilience Kit has everything you need to know genetic-wise about your stress release resilience. What comes to endorphins like oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, adrenaline, cortisol, and so on. Neuropeptide Y. So that is really cutting edge, in my opinion, because I haven't seen these kind of markers anywhere in gene test before. And then besides that, you get all the basics plus more, and the SNPs or the SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphism, like these basic things that happen in the genes, and they change the structure of the alleles, and they have an effect on your genotype. So these are combined. They're not just one gene, but like multiple for, let's say, for insulin sensitivity or vitamin A or whatever is in there.
So if you want to take a look at it, like go to biohack.to/integral DNA. We will be also releasing a new longevity test a little bit later, which is going into blood work, which works beautifully complementarily with this, which is, we're not going to tell you the details now, but it's going to be the most advanced test available right now to assess your NAD levels as well as lipid peroxidation and oxidative stress on a cellular level. So then you have the DNA understanding, and then you see the impact on your body, and that influences even better your holistic understanding on what to do specifically, like how hard to go into like all these like resilience building practices. But anyway, the question is, are these tests available to US residents? At least the longevity test will be. Do we have this DNA test available? I think it's more about like shipping these like biological specimens. I think that is related to that. Do you remember?
I would have to make sure.
I mean, check the website.
It's like Nordic Laboratories is providing these tests. So it's basically it's resided in Denmark, but there is a possibility that the tests are actually available also to US. I think we have sold the previous tests and like iodine tests and different tests also. So I would say that the US is also a possibility, because nowadays DHL, it's just one day and it's there.
Yeah.
And it's just a blood spot test. So it's not you're drawing any blood or giving like feces or anything like that. Blood spot test. It's like it's not getting ruined very easily.
Right. Yeah. All right. So anyway, resilience is all about bouncing back quickly, but it's also about health span. So I think we are not just biohackers, we are health span optimizers. So what biohacking really provides, if you live a healthy lifestyle, you make good food choices, exercise, food supplements, you have good social support network and all that. What medical treatments have enabled us to do is to double our life expectancy from 45 on average to 85. And with biohacking, you can potentially, with good lifestyle choices, like push the envelope to become a centurion. And if you look at like globally, the older we become, the more likely we have all these degenerative diseases that kill us slowly, in a sense. Like if you look at what are the kind of leading causes of death, there's heart disease, there's respiratory disease, there's diabetes, there's Alzheimer's, there's like even headaches and falling. Actually, at my age, me and Olli, it's more likely that we will die in a car accident than, let's say, in an infectious disease. And if you look at the chronic diseases in aging populations globally, 27% have multiple chronic conditions, one or more. If you live more than 65 years old, 64% have a degenerative disease. What is a degenerative disease? It basically is an aging-related disease. Your body breaks down, and behind that you have mechanisms related to aging, including low-level inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistance. And here is a beautiful graph also on how these like multiple overlapping things just increase by age. So you can see already, like I'm 40, you're all also in your 40s, and relatively speaking, you're more likely to have 0 disorders or maybe 1. But give 10 years or 20 years more into your clock, and most people around you will have
so 65 seems to be some kind of magic number when things are starting to happen. But it's totally possible that you just, so to speak, move the curve in the right, and you just delay the process. I think David Sinclair had a post, I think it was on Instagram, that it was the subject was like, have we now witnessed the first to become 150 years old to be born? So are these people who are actually born now, do they have a possibility to live up to 150? So that's totally hypothetical, but interesting view.
I mean, if you can already double the life expectancy of rodents in the lab or 10x the life expectancy of fruit flies, why can't we push the health span of humans? Of course we can. And I don't think it's only about therapies. It's not only about the latest fad of, let's say, taking spermidine or some kind of NAD activator, NMN, or
crystallized NMN,
or doing something like metformin or rapamycin. These are some of the popular anti-aging drugs right now. I think it's not a magic pill. It's not a silver bullet. It is like a holistic approach to longevity, where you start already today in your 30s, 40s to push the envelope so that you're less likely to fall victim to degenerative disease. So that's kind of what we talk about in this book as well, like all the different studied and proven mechanisms how to push health span. And of course, we, like many of the different lifestyle therapies, are about attacking things like low-level inflammation that is behind a lot of aging-related diseases, making sure that your NAD levels don't drop as you age, and you're able to attack the 9 hallmarks of aging.
Actually, we call 10 or 9 plus 10 hallmarks of aging. So I wrote about 20 pages only concentrating on these hallmarks, and this is also kind of like a continuum to my Barker Summit Helsinki June speak when I spoke about the 9 plus 1 hallmarks of aging. But I haven't seen these written down extensively to that sense that how do you actually have an effect on these certain, let's say how do you have an effect on genomic instability? How can you bounce it back or make it more stable? Telomere attrition. How can you make your telomeres not shorten that fast? Loss of proteostasis. How to improve the proteostasis, and so on and so on and so on. And there's a lot of research to that, but not research that had been put together to actually show that, hey, if you take these kind of things completely and you, let's say, pick 4 of the most promising and most efficient ways, and then you can actually tackle 80%. So I think here also the 20 or 80-20% rule is a very good one. So, and this is the reason why there's no magic bullet to this, no magic pill. I don't think there will ever be a magic pill, even though there are big tries have this lime is now that's the shit, or crystallized NMN, this will fix everything in mice.
but yeah, there's definitely revolutionary results already in the lab. Guenol asked in the questions early on, what do you think of the longevity escape velocity? So what is this? So it's basically the idea that what you just said, that the person who's going to live, let's say, a couple of 100 years has already been born. So at what age, on average, you need to be to escape the kind of, I would say, aging velocity and to kind of tap into the potential longevity. If you think of artificial intelligence right now, we're in a tipping point where it's really showing its results. It's been discussed for 20, 30 years. Anti-aging is the same thing. It's been discussed for a long time, and there's going to be a pinnacle turning point, a paradigm shift, tipping of the jar into the potential for many of us living a lot longer than we live today. And I think if you implement a lot of things in our book, you're more likely to be one of those people who are going to live healthy enough to that age. But at the same time, I don't think the mission in life is to live as long as possible. It's not about lifespan. It's not about transhumanism. It's not about, well, it's kind of transcending what it means to be human, to become aware of yourself. But in a sense, what it is more about, instead of this like immortality, where you kind of see aging as a disease, what I see is like most people want to live a healthy life, as many healthy years in their life, and then die boots on, so that your body or mind doesn't come on the way of whatever you want to do to contribute to society, or to your friends or family or the work that you love. Like, I think that's where a lot of people get their happiness. It's just the ability to be feel meaningful.
So basically, in short, to increase health span. So if we take a look at the slide, I think this is just so descriptive that just take a look at the two like curves there. So there's normal aging, and then you have like 16 years of disability and disease. Or you could live a little longer, but you have like a good longevity, normal, actually very good health span that could be like, let's say, even 50% more than it's on average today. So this is where you want to go. I don't know if I want to live to be 150. That would be, I cannot even imagine how that would feel to have like grandchildren or something crazy like that. Are we gonna see like let's say 6-7 generations? That's insane.
Yeah, indeed. But anyway, let's dive deeper. Let's go to some like practical things. Like, everyone is waiting for it, right? You're waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. So let's take a look at Olli doing like what resilient beings do, which is like he's activating hormesis. So this is Olli in hormesis state.
Back in 2016, I think this was.
Yeah, pretty much like same guy. You know, he still looks the same. Like
better.
actually, you look better nowadays. So like definitely something has paid off. Being on that river in Finland, it's pretty cold temperature actually at that point of time. He just came from sauna and dipped into a runny, icy river. And this is just for show. He has like all these like anti-aging gear, anything from blocking light pollution, like with his blue light blockers.
And you can see I have two very old Oura rings.
Yeah, he has
so that's how they
the
look.
ancient Oura ring, the first generation Oura ring right there, which still works and gives pretty much, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say the current Oura ring is giving that much of an advantage compared to this old one, like from 10 years back or something like this. And he's doing intranasal photobiomodulation, so he was already doing red light therapy and near infrared. And I don't think you need the noise cancelling headphones, but that will look cool to just have something like that. He's taking some stress reducing adaptogenic herbs. What is an adaptogen? It helps to adapt to stress. Maybe that's reishi or ashwagandha or maybe rhodiola or ginseng or something like this. And he's doing cold thermogenesis.
Or Shishandra.
Heat
alteration. It could be Shishandra, actually.
Yeah. So, Arka is commenting.
Don't do this. Like, you don't need to like.
You don't need two
all
rings.
All this.
I think you need 4 and 5 Oura rings. You need
for every finger. And then
I mean, I have 4 rings, but I don't have an Oura ring.
Yeah, you've been off from it.
You know, guys, what I did? I decided to try what happens if I don't use Oura ring for half a year. You know what? Nothing changed in my life. So actually, I would say like there's maybe like 15 seconds more time in my morning because I don't look at my phone for my sleep stats. But I actually did take Oura ring back from the shelf, and my heart rate variability has improved in the meanwhile. Now it's like 20 points on average higher. So what happened there? I would say like one of the big things for me was definitely hormetic stressors. Instead of looking at my sleep stats, what I've been doing every single day is sauna or heat alteration, cold therapy in some form. So let's take a look at the slide quickly. So what is hormesis? Basically like there are these like, you could call them like xenohormesis. Like there is environmental stressors or factors that stimulate your nervous system, your immune system. It's kind of like things that are kind of like telling you, poking you a little bit like, hey, you know, there's some toxin here, or like you're getting
chemical.
or you're getting too much sunlight, or like there's some heat, you might die, or cold, you might die. There's some muscle damage from exercise. Like it's like these subtle things, or some phytochemicals, the protective chemicals in plants that, like in small amounts, are triggering your nervous system, immune system to become more resilient. So produce more immune system cells to be more capable of dealing the same type of stress next time. And definitely that's the subjective experience of most people, and why you probably love ice bath, doing it every day, is that the day feels easier.
Yeah,
right?
it's dopamine, endorphin boost, and you get kind of this natural high also after the ice thing. But for me, I get to go like, okay, now let's do this fucking every day for 2 weeks in a row.
Daniel is asking how long.
how long what?
Already to protocols, right? Okay. How long ice bath? What temperature?
We have good slides, I think. Let's see. Here's a good one. So to activate, if you just want to look how you activate the heat shock proteins, cold shock proteins, and autophagy to the max to get the maximum benefits, you would want to go to the sauna about 4 times per week. And before that, if you just want to concentrate on all these metabolic effects, fast for 16 hours. So the most important thing is that you don't eat immediately before getting to the sauna, because then it actually can be harmful. Then maybe have a little exercise 30 minutes before, and after that do like a 3 rounds of 50 minutes sauna at around 80 Celsius degrees, and about 2 minute cold exposure at 5 degrees in between. But it can be like 10 minutes sauna, even at 70 degrees, it's pretty good. Just 1 minute of cold exposure. This is not written in stone, but this seems to be like the sweet spot.
So let me summarize. So basically, you take 5-course meal, dinner, and you go straight to sauna and drink beer while you're sitting there.
Yeah,
is that what I do?
Yeah, like a multiple dose of alcohol. So alcohol
is
ruins all the benefits. I'm sorry, guys.
Damn, I love my beer in sauna, right?
Have an alcohol-free beer.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is that alcohol, like if you think of it like if what you want to activate is autophagy, and what are the other things that activate autophagy are things like
fasting, basically.
Exercise, heat alteration, these kind of things, and like if you are fasting, of course you don't eat and drink alcohol, which like is basically sugar in your system very quickly. So if you want to like boost that autophagy activation, you go into sauna in a fasted state, you don't drink alcohol. And one thing that I've been, by the way, doing personally, most people when they go to the gym, they do sauna after their exercise. So
before.
I've been actually doing it as a pre-workout. So I go to sauna first, and I have the luxury of doing sauna at home. So once I come out of sauna, like basically dying, naked, that's when I pick up some kettlebells and like I make a couple of swings. And this would look pretty funny in a gym. Like this sweaty guy, like naked there with kettlebells. But this is actually a really good idea because you don't need to warm up the body with like stretching and all this. You go to sauna, it expands capillaries, like
and
it improves
an
blood
exercise
flow.
mimetic.
Exactly, it's an exercise mimetic. So it has cardiovascular effects and metabolic as well as hormonal effects similar to doing moderate exercise. It's not like heavy exercise. You still want to exercise. And after that, if you do a workout, you probably will have a hard time, right? But you don't need to work out that much. Like maybe do some extreme bar or something like that.
Or you could do yoga. Like, for example, what my wife does often in the mornings, she goes to the infrared, not sauna, but infrared heat room, like sweating there a little bit, and then does like morning yoga for 15, 20 minutes. And that's like absolutely great idea, because I usually do the other way around. I do like the yoga, opening my body, and then I go to the infrared sauna.
Infrared therapy.
Infrared heat room.
So I do infrared therapy in the morning Personally, I combine that with red light therapy and one thing that I have inside my infrared therapy room is humidifier. And the reason is that once you increase the humidity in that room, the respiration, like the heat, gas and heat exchange through the skin, it becomes so much harder for the body. So like it needs to work more for it, and so all the humidity blocks the pores on your skin, and it just makes the respiration harder. So it actually like heats your core even more. And infrared not sauna therapy, it actually like goes deeper than a regular dry sauna in a sense, but it's less taxing to the nervous system. So you can do it as a morning thing, and later in the afternoon, early evening, I do like a traditional Finnish sauna, like 3 times a week. I don't do it every single day. I do infrared therapy every day. I feel that it's not so taxing on me. But if I would do like a sauna every single day, that would be a bit too much. But like,
like sauna plus cold, so that's what I've been experiencing now.
Yeah.
And
I do
it's
only
clearly like it's kind of like the recovery is not the same. And if you just let's say lift weights in addition to that, like I've been also doing, then it's no wonder that you may not have that much of a recovery. Like give it a rest.
Let me give my reasoning a little bit. So I combine ice cold baths with traditional Finnish sauna. I love the alteration, but I don't do the workout when I do that. I do the workout when I do the infrared therapy, and I don't do ice bath after the infrared therapy and exercise, because cold therapy will actually dampen some of the beneficial effects of exercise. So if you want to bounce back quickly and recover quickly, that's when you basically like after, let's say, running a marathon, you want to run another one. That's when you do like an ice bath in
or
between.
CrossFit competition.
Yeah.
But if you want to build muscle, like I would say the sweet spot is like within 2 hours. You don't want to go to very cold, spend a long time there, and because you're not getting the metabolic response, you're basically shutting down the inflammation and the stress that you actually wanted to create to make the muscles grow. But maybe we discuss a little bit about what actually cold exposure does and why people get hooked into it. So maybe this slide explains it all. Like Jaakko is there. I love this picture. He's there smiling in the ice.
Yeah, he's one of the co-authors of the original Biker's Handbook.
Yeah.
He's a crazy ice bath guy for sure.
He was in the competition, like the Finnish ice swimming competition.
Why you should trust Finnish biohackers only is because we go into ice swimming competitions, and we also, by the way, have sauna competitions, real sauna, not infrared heat room competitions.
Yeah.
And we are notorious of also dying in those competitions. So if you want to die in a sauna, which is, by the way, that's the place where in the old times people were born, and that's where they died. So that's the cleanest place in the house, and that's where you take the person once they're like decomposing. So some people in Finland, they just decide to die prematurely. And this is pretty crazy for Americans. You know, they need all these warning signs in saunas, like don't be longer than 11 minutes, and if your heart rate goes up, get out straight away. That's what you actually want.
Do not put your cats in there.
Yeah, but this is not medical advice. We take no responsibility of your actions. But one thing what cold therapy is amazing for is like if you do it in moderation, it actually increases heart rate variability.
And not in combination with heat, because this is just cold exposure. So if you just do that, because the heat alteration, that's an exercise. You change like rapidly the temperatures. It's exercising the body to become more resilient. But if you just do cold, and we just take a look at that, and then there is actually, you see increases in heart rate variability and improved autonomic nervous system adaptation. So you can easily adapt to that. So that's the key. Not necessarily just taking a look at the number, but how your body adapts to different kind of situations. So for example, I know if I give myself rest, I don't do anything, the HRV goes back, and that's for sure. But the thing is that I like to do stuff.
You overdo everything. Like I remember when Olli
Checking the limits.
I remember when Olli was like, I did too much niacin. Like, okay, man. Good job. Veronica from the office, she actually does ice bath in the ocean every single morning without sauna, and she's really killing it at the office. So definitely works for her. Now, one of the physiological benefits of cold exposure is the way how it decreases inflammation. It can reduce muscle soreness, activate the immune system, and all that. And you don't need to really do that much. Just a daily cold shower for 30 days, resulting in 29% lower self-reported absence from work. It improves metabolic rate. Like it's great for increasing the activation of brown adipose tissue. And what brown adipose tissue is, it's this kind of brown fat that burns white fat. So that's the bad fat, like the visceral fat around your organs.
Visceral fat.
It burns that for energy. And as you age, a young person, like a child, has quite a lot of this around shoulders and around the spine because of the small size. It needs good thermoregulation. But as you age, you don't really need that unless you train for it. So if you don't train it, you lose it. And that's the reason why you shiver when it's cold, and that's not resilient. You're not resilient if you're like shivering even in the smallest breeze. So think about exercising, this temperature range as well in your life.
I could show really, really cool pictures. But David, did you get this heat alteration, this free PDF?
Yeah, the awesome free PDF.
So there's a lot of good images. So this is the one we are talking about. So if you just saw the slides, so in a newborn has a lot of BAT, and if you're young, you're like metabolically active, you do some cold, you actually increase your energy expenditure to having more brown adipose tissue. But if you're like sedentary, you don't do that much, and then you get obese, you basically lose all of the brown adipose tissue. But then again, if you change your lifestyle, you take cold exposure, you do some exercise, and you lose some weight, actually you get more brown adipose tissue. So then it's easier to stay lean. First get lean and stay lean.
Basically, the secret to living long is to become a child again. And it's actually true. Like it's mindset, it's body. You just reduce the signs of aging, and just the mindset, and the brown adipose tissue comes back.
So you go to Benjamin Button mode.
Yeah. There's actually like a Finnish guy in the chat that he's going into the Finnish championships of ice swimming. Awesome, man.
Let's
go. There is also a question from some Finnish lady about how to feel energetic even during cold winter time. I guess that's kind of what we have. Like either you punish yourself in an ice bath or sauna, or you are depressed and like you just have like seasonal depression. So, red light therapy works for me great. Like it's so awesome. Like I close eyes, I feel like I'm
simulation of sun.
It's basically a simulation of being on a beach. But of course, the blue wavelengths of light is the strongest signal for circadian rhythms in wintertime. You can use like studio lights, or you can use a kind of like seasonal, we have what is called like a daylight lamp.
Yeah,
or
we actually have a chapter. I wrote a chapter into the contextual resilience. It's at the end of the chapter, and about bright light therapy and the seasonal affective disorder. So there's everything about that. And also I published a free guide in our store about that. So having bright light into the face and into the eyes early in the morning. So that's really regulating your circadian rhythm. And then you can also about circadian rhythms, if you have like a constant good circadian rhythm, that's also activating the NAD. So you produce more NAD, you have more energy if you have a good circadian rhythm. That means like having within an hour, like going to bed about the same time and getting up at the same time, having bright light in the face. If it's natural light, even better. But in the winter, you need these bright light devices.
Nice. Arkai just gave us 25 Polish currency. Thank you very much for using the super chat. if you want, he has a question like, if you want to donate, just like throw the cash on the table on the super chat if you like this content. So he's asking, going from sauna to ice is fine for me, but at the last retreat in Adila, so this is the bikers retreat, by the way, I was warned not to go into sauna straight from the ice. Honestly, I forgot why. Yeah, so if you ask Lee Evin, who is going to be one of the instructors in the Biohackers retreat, like he's done a lot of different techniques when it comes to breath work and ice baths, and he's training people on that. He's not just a Wim Hof certified instructor, but a lot of other things. The only time when he has had like some kind of adverse reaction, actually with another Wim Hof instructor, was when they did a crazy, like absolutely crazy ice bath session, like really extending it to like freaking 20 minutes. And then they went into 160 degrees Celsius smoke sauna. And they both like felt like after 5 minutes that now something is happening. Yeah. And they luckily made out of the sauna. Like they basically fainted.
So it's a change in blood pressure, and you get that if you stay in the cold and it's really cold. I also experienced this, and that's why what I do, I don't go straight to the hot sauna. I have a little bit of shower, like warm me up a little bit, just feeling my body, maybe have a little bit of salt. And then when I go to the sauna, I actually lift my legs up. So I'm this kind of position that my legs are here and the blood flow comes back to the internal organs. So I don't feel any dizzy. But practice makes this perfect, and you should approach with ease and with progression.
Yeah, so you don't get disease. If you want to like hang out with me and Olli and Lee Evin and like see Olli doing like his legs up blood pressure hacks before he goes to sauna and like throwing like
in the sauna
throwing all kinds of like funny jokes and like just witnessing these crazy Finns doing their daily thing, like come to the Bikers Retreat. It's in April, end of April. It's the time when the nature is waking up. It's really an amazing time, but the water is still cold. So we're going to do in a natural lake, amazing, like it's not really ice swimming because there's not going to be ice, but it's cold enough that we're going to do like some group sessions. We go to sauna. We have a traditional Finnish sauna shaman guiding us. We're going to dive deep into longevity hacks, and like you can try all the supplements, all the different tests. We're going to guide you through all the biomarkers to look into, all the different stuff to do. And we practically do upgrade a day together, like from the morning when we wake up to the evening when we go to sleep. Anything from morning routines, meditation, exercise, body work, beverages, intermittent fasting kind of things, ketogenic lifestyles. And then we do breath work, we do ice bath, sauna, we do fire ceremony, and all that. And if you're not going to faint in the end of that, you did something wrong. Actually, you're going to be just like happy, and it's going to be super safe and awesome. So if you want to hang out with us, like come to Bikers Retreat in Tallinn. There's flights from all around the world to Estonia, and it is awesome. Check out the trailer. Maybe we can actually play the little like short video of it. Like, do you have it like ready to go? Our masters behind the decks.
Do we have more questions before we?
I'll read the questions while we watch the video. So of course we can.
There's this massive question from Marcin, but maybe you just take the.
Yeah, let's play the video and then answer some more questions. So you can also think about your questions into the super chat on YouTube while we play this 1 minute clip. Roll it.
What I really appreciated was the integration of body, mind, and spirit in community. Because, being by yourself and adopting these principles and working on yourself individually is wonderful. But coming together to be able to do this in community and meet other people also on a similar path that are the most earnest and well-intentioned people in the world, that are looking to work on themselves and that are looking to work on the world to make it a better place. The quality of people and this beautiful setting with the best curated programming, the best products for us to try. It's this beautiful, holistic experience all coming together in the retreat.
Amazing. So that's going to be great. I really look forward to it. And that's the best thing you can have besides Biker Summit. And the next Biker Summit will be in Amsterdam, 14 and 15 of October 2023. The topic is going to be expanding consciousness. And if you want to kind of expand a little bit your understanding and maybe your thinking and worldview and maybe some consciousness aspects and activation, come hang out with us in April. But if you have any questions, please throw in. We have some amazing things here. For example, I don't even know what that is. Evan, tips regarding androgenetic alopecia that is resistant to minoxidil and low-dose finasteride.
Yeah.
You picked up this question. What is this?
Well, I basically picked up every question, and this doesn't really have to do anything about resilience. This is really specific, really medical specific, but basically this means that he has this kind of a genetic tendency to lose hair and have these white spots, usually in the scalp, and it's androgen space.
I see a gray hair.
Oh no!
No, actually, it's my glasses.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So and it has to do something with testosterone going to DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone, and then you have just genetic kind of predisposition to that. But
are we going to talk about hormones like testosterone and estrogen and all these things, how they play
it's in the social resilience chapter, but we don't go into medical stuff. But I would try red light therapy. In this case, it could be effective in stimulating the hair growth and making them awake from the sleep. It's not a guarantee, but it's something you can definitely play on. So that would be my go-to to actually try good quality red light therapy device to stimulate the hair.
There's a pretty long question, really practical stuff from Marcin in the pre-questions. Will the book contain recipes and protocols? Within 20 minutes after waking up, you do red light therapy, X centimeter away from the lamp that has light power of X, infrared X minute away from sleep. If a biker wants to implement fasting supplements, light therapies, TDCS, Neurosonic, Neurovisor, Theragun, cardiovascular training, strength and heat, and other, then also needs information if there are any interactions, or if you are expert group found XY says why spreading them work better for you because of their is not always a research paper or something. That's why biohacking community. Is this written is this guy high when he wrote this question?
Probably it's just free flow.
It's really free flow. Yeah. We need to spread out the research findings, insights, because they might help others. For example, I found that waking up and going for 2 hours, 2 hours of floating chamber, this guy is going mad. 2 hour floating chamber. I just did 1 hour and I was I was floating in space. So floating in magnesium salt water at 7 a.m. helps completely fight sleep deprivation, makes you fully rested, and helps body regenerate when under chronic conditions. I, by the way, use acetyl L-carnitine, Alcar, for that. It's also used for if you get concussion or brain damage or something. But it's a form of carnitine that crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it's great for sleep deprivation. And also the other thing that is awesome for it is infrared sauna, red light therapy, for sure. Any kind of mitochondrial activation, NAD supplements. By the way, I consider myself a young person. I'm not supplementing NAD every day, but I do take it when I'm under stress, sleep deprivation. So that's when I take it.
That's when it works best.
And flotation tank is amazing. There's a lot of studies that show this high pressure chambers and their effects on longevity. And I mean, there's like just fighting oxidative stress. It's awesome, especially if you are like stressed out, sleep deprived. And all of these protocols that I just mentioned, all of these I do when I travel. So if I've been like traveling airports or something, like I'm really looking forward to my sauna, ice bath, doing some meditation, and then going into a flotation tank. I happen to have one of those service providers near where I live, so I can go like lie down there. And I actually spoke to this guy who runs this like this kind of flotation tank center that his body starts to feel as there's something missing if he doesn't do it on a regular basis. And I think there's something true about that like relaxation effect. And then you have in addition to flotation tanks, you have hyperbaric oxygen chambers for this pressure thing, and there's just so many good things about that, and also some manual therapy. I've used a lot of like massage guns and vibration plates and a lot of things to stimulate the lymphatic system. I think we sit too much, we're too tensed up, and we need like some help. And sometimes technology is awesome for it, but if you're in nature, you probably need less of all this stuff.
We've been sitting an hour here.
yeah, it's been an hour. And actually we started like 10 minutes late, so it's been an hour now.
It's been an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
But how the question he asked basically was if we have any protocols there. We have some, yeah.
Absolutely.
But of course there's no like this fits all, and we cannot take into account like all of the like possible variations. You have to find it out yourself, and that's biohacking is what it's all about. It's N=1 experimenting and measuring and quantifying what's happening into your system and finding out your limits, maybe like pushing boundaries a little bit like I do quite often, and then just coming back and seeing, okay, this seems to work best, and this is how you can find what's actually working for you. But what about about NMN, and
let's go into that. Like everyone's interested in mitochondria, NAD supplements, NAD plus.
So
NMN,
that's
which
the most like what's on the surface at the moment, like a topic. NMN. Should you take NMN or NR? And what I've noticed is that I can take nicotinamide riboside. It seems to work better than NMN. That's based on my experience. It's a one step further away from generating NAD. So there's this self-regulation to that. If you just take NMN, it goes into NAD quite rapidly, and you can overdo it. And what happens to me if I tend to have too much of NAD, and then I have too much energy. It creates stress to my body, and I have to move a lot or do a lot of stuff, and then I get exhausted. So it's not good for me. But cycling it on and off, taking maybe here and there, if you're a little sleep deprived, you feel very low in energy, then it might be actually good for you.
Yeah, and this as you age, maybe in my 60s, 70s, I might actually do it, start microdosing it with aspirin or something like this, which is actually one of those longevity hacks. So let's see, we have still here something awesome.
Don't take aspirin.
Pre-orders, you lived in Italy, now you moved to US. Do you need to pay shipping costs? No, we will ask for the shipping details later when the delivery is up, next Christmas, close to Christmas time when the book is about to come out. Let's hope so. Let's hope the writing gods that we're gonna make it happen. So then what happens is we will ask for confirmation on your shipping address, and based on that, we'll send you the book, and wherever you are, you're good. And you save actually quite a lot with this pre-order thing, because you also get the ebook for free. It's going to be cheaper. The ebook is going to be an extended edition that has a lot of the material that doesn't make into the printed covers. You get into these webinars. And we also opened up this Facebook group now for Resilient Being pre-orders, so you can get into the inner circle. So we are now very happy as we are finishing, and we have a lot of material to work with you guys and get some feedback and keep on bringing these questions. So it really stimulates us also to understand what is important, what we should really focus on, and that's pretty much what we would love to do with you guys, is to have a conversation. So I don't think we have any additional questions here, but just to remind you of a couple of things. So the DNA Life Integral DNA test that is available right now, it's a really comprehensive test that you don't really get anywhere else at biohacker.to/integral DNA, or you just go to biohackercenter.com. We ship globally, internationally. All our products there are available. You get amazing test results there. And I had something here. Actually, I have, the Biohacker's Guide to Ketosis. If you haven't yet downloaded our guide into intermittent fasting, calorie restriction, ketogenic diets, we highly recommend you to check out biohacker.to/keto, and you get a really comprehensive, compact guide into the ketogenic lifestyle. And with ketogenic lifestyle, it has been used for all kinds of medical conditions, anything from managing epilepsy to acne. But of course, a lot of people do nowadays ketogenic diet recreationally because it gives them energy. It helps with metabolic issues and blood sugar regulation. And one of the big things is mitochondrial function and mitochondrial volume and mass. So if your question was how do I feel more energetic during cold winter time? Maybe this is one thing that you may want to look into. There's another question, how to increase appetite? Well, try some fasting. You're gonna feel hungry after some time. But then you actually don't feel hungry, and then it doesn't matter. And but you start to appreciate food more when it's not available. And just from a longevity standpoint, it's all about homeostasis, ebb and flow, balance, the balance of all things in the universe.
What is this?
I don't know, this is my hat from
Hats
Peru.
off.
And
Hats off to me.
and just hats off to you guys. Thank you so much for getting the book, and tell your friends also that this is going to be groundbreaking as it comes out, and they should get in, because the book is definitely going to fly out to the people who pre-ordered this already months before it hits the shelves. So you're going to get your hands on the book as the first. And we really appreciate your involvement.
Last words, as the main writer of the book, the raw material, I would say it's about 80% done. We have physical resilience, it's done. Contextual resilience, it's done. Mental resilience, it's done. Social resilience,
Done.
it's about 95% done.
Olli, come on. 80% of the work starts when you think it's done.
I know, but I say it about the raw text materials, and they're all already in the editing table, a lot of images, and you saw this heat alteration 20-page free PDF. So that's the quality standards that we stick to.
It's gonna be the best.
Yeah.
Check out the Bikers Retreat if you want to learn hands-on from us and get a first-hand experience in all these longevity hacks and resilience building techniques. It's awesome. And please subscribe to the Biohacker Summit YouTube channel. Most of our people who view our channel, they're not subscribed, and by subscribing it really helps our stats and to then help spread what we do to a wider audience. So please share and like and comment also. And any comments also in the chat section on any of the videos we post, we make our best effort to answer them as well. So with that, thank you very much for joining, and I wish you an amazingly resilient rest of the day.
And on my behalf, #tardigrade. Ciao.
#tardigrade.
you.